So the next one was venue looking to hire you as a town buyer. So congratulations, Levi. So if you do good work, right, there's going to be interest in being hired to be a town buyer, potentially, especially in the smaller venues, because like most smaller venues kind of don't know how to book shows and how the industry works, right? They might get lucky or they work with a lot of outside promoters. Um, so depending what the situation is, there might be a few different scenarios. They might, and if be careful, not be careful, but just be make sure you are very clear with the communication, right? Do they just want you to do more shows and they want to give you a preferred deal as a promoter, or do they actually want to hire you to be the town buyer, right? Now, what is a town buyer salary range at, let's call it a major promoter or bigger venue level, right? So bigger venue saying 1,700 to 2,000 plus capacity, right? And then the bigger promoters. Um, the range kind of for junior town buyers. So junior town buyers are people are that are kind of just starting out and they're usually also working under a town buyer, right? The range for that could be anywhere from 35 to $60,000 a year. If you're gonna work for Live Nation, AEG, Outback, or you're a junior buyer in a performing arts center. So performing arts center being a venue that has multiple venues inside, right? Like a theater usually has multiple theaters inside. So if you think of theater, there's only one theater within that theater, right? One theater in that space. That would be more of a theater, right? If it's multiple, right, where they have a big theater, a medium-sized theater, a small theater, they have a rehearsal space, a bunch of other stuff, and they do Broadway. Most of the times, those are performing arts centers, right, where there's multiple theaters in one building. Smaller performing arts centers might just have two. They will have their big theater and then what they call the black box, which is like usually their small room, which holds usually between 2 to 400. Or they might be like Dr. Phillips Center in Orlando or the Straz in Tampa, where there's literally 4 to 5 venues within the same building, right? And in those spaces, a junior buyer will be on the higher end, probably even up to 50, 60,000 a year. Now, if you're going to be a town buyer for like a Live Nation, AEG, or even for one of these bigger venues, a town buyer could expect anywhere from 60 to $100,000 a year. On the lower scale, a more seasoned town buyer, 100 plus, right? And plus commissions, of course. And commissions start even at the junior buyer level if you're with one of the big promoters. If you're working for a theater or a nonprofit, you're probably not going to get commission because it's a nonprofit, right? But if you are working for a for-profit company, you should definitely get commissions. So how does all of that information, that background make sense if you're working at a club, right? A smaller venue, 1,500 capacity and lower, and even especially in the smaller club spaces, like the 200 to 500 capacity spaces. They're not going to pay you $50,000 a year, right? to book a show. They're happy if they make $50,000 a year. The way you could structure this at the club level is you either get a minimum wage, so start at the minimum wage plus commission. So let's just say it's 15 to $20 an hour for probably 40 hours a week worth of work, right? Um, and then maybe that's where they can negotiate of limiting your hours, but then your pushback is well, really this should be salaried, right? But let's say that because how I started off, I was hourly plus commission. Um, but your pushback is, well, if you're only gonna let me work 10 to 20 hours a week, it's gonna limit in how many shows I can book for you because I can only work 10, 20 hours a week, right? But worst case scenario, it's an hourly rate plus commission. So now commission off of tickets only, the way that could look like is and never try to negotiate to get a percentage of profit on tickets because as you know if you've gone through the promoter school the profit is in the ancillary revenue, right, and other revenue streams. So I'll either say it's anywhere from 5 to 10% of gross ticket sales, or what's probably easier and is easier to digest is to get a flat dollar amount per ticket, right? So one scenario I've had once at a venue was a minimum salary plus $3 per ticket that's sold, right? And a minimum was 150 tickets that to sell. So once you hit that minimum threshold, now your $3 per ticket kicked in.